Okay. A little while ago, I actually did do a video on the Divas Revolution and how I pretty much felt about it, or the evolution, whatever, and how I felt about it. Now, after talking to my friend Mr. Griffin, it kind of did spark up the conversation again, and he actually did have some valid points, and it was based on his video that he did in response to the Lex Man and We Are Pro Wrestling, and they had valid points. Well, according to him, I haven't seen their videos yet. But honestly, instead of making it just another video about my personal thoughts of the Divas Revolution that I've already done, I decided to go back and do the same thing like I did with Lucha Underground versus the WWE. But instead of doing pros and cons, I am going to state my top 3 things that could actually help the franchise. So let's start with number 3. After watching the last Raw that was on previously with the Diva segment on Miz TV, the worst thing about that segment is that no one, absolutely no one, could speak. Like, they had issues with dialogue. Now, it's a difference between remembering your lines and having emotions behind them. If you decide to have a scripted show, you got to teach your people how to talk, let alone have emotion behind it. You can ad-lib freely if you want to. I mean, CM Punk probably did that multiple times, as well as AJ Lee. And the things that AJ Lee said, she had a lot of heart behind it. When you have some heart behind it, it's easier to speak. Seriously. Now, for that entire segment, it fell flat because everybody did their best to remember their lines. And I know that, yes, you have Paige, who is British. You have Becky Lynch, who is Irish. That makes no difference. You had Charlotte Flair, and she was just as stiff as they were. Now, regardless of whether or not they have an accent or whether they're trying to get over it, they got to learn how to express their emotions being their character while remembering their lines. If you're in touch with your character, you'll be able to remember your script and have emotion behind it. And that's the biggest problem at this point. None of the divas know how to speak. And I don't care what anybody says, Nikki needs work. The best talker, in my opinion, is Brie. She has a lot of emotion, a lot of heart behind everything she says. Sure, there are times she does fall flat when it comes to crying. But besides all that, she absolutely knows how to let her emotions unleash, and that's what they got to do. They can't be afraid to make a mistake. They gotta be expressive, and they have to be themselves as well. Well, they're character-wise. But honestly, before they're able to even go out and actually have cut promos and be able to go further than that, they got to learn how to talk. And I think that's the one thing they really do need to work with them on. Throughout the years of the Attitude Era, we've had some excellent feuds. I can go down the road, but we all know who they were and who was in them and all that other stuff. And as of recently, NXT has one of the best feuds and the best matches, pretty much grade A matches every single night. And it's a given. But the worst thing is when they make that transition from NXT to Raw, oh boy, they really don't have much to do with them. And I'm not talking about some storyline for Total Divas. I am talking about actually have a legit storyline on the show that will make people interested. Right now, everybody's sitting on their hands and they're bored because they have nothing to fight for. The matches have a lot more worth to them when the characters can actually have a reason to go at it. But there's nothing there. They just have matches every night and that's it. There's nothing really fueling that fire. There's a lot of, in my opinion, there could be a lot of heat between Sasha Banks and Nikki Bella. Seriously. And Sasha Banks really is great technical wise, as well as her attitude alone shows that she can be the boss. Whether or not people say that the Bellas are heels or not, they actually are. They're condescending heels, so it can work. Two condescending heels going at it, which is the better diva, who is really the boss. They can actually have that paired up. They can actually have a good, decent feud out of that. And depending on, their wrestling strengths and how they and their wrestling styles, it'll be an excellent match to watch. And it'll probably take Nikki to school and kind of teach her a few things. Not saying she's great at what she's doing now, but honestly, it can build a really great feud. There's a lot they can do with Charlotte. There's a lot they can do with Becky. Becky pulled off a really excellent match between her and Sasha Banks. Up there between her and Charlotte. Charlotte versus Natalia, by far one of the best matches I've seen on NXT. And then Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch is up there with the pretty much the top 5. I would say that's number 2. And I guess I could I can talk about NXT all day, but the thing is like, there's so much they can do, so much potential. Instead of just bringing people over and there, you can make some decent feuds and actually transform these women into something more. But you have to build up their feuds. You got to give them a reason to fight, because they have to bring out their aggression in the ring. They have to tell a story in the ring. How can they tell a story if they have nothing to fight for? Okay, guys, this is the most important one. This is the most important one that will actually change the revolution. That will actually make it a Divas Revolution. And I'm talking about retiring the Divas title and bringing back the Women's Championship. The Women's Championship actually holds a lot more weight, in my opinion, than the Divas title. Because the Divas title just shows, it doesn't express how strong these women are. It just shows them as prissy models. That's my opinion of it. The women's title has a lot more weight to it because there's been a lot more champions of that belt. There's a lot more prestige behind that belt. There's a lot more honor behind it. And that's what these women want. And that's what they should have. Instead of a ridiculous, glitterified butterfly belt, they should have something that holds true, just like how the men have all their countless titles. They need to have something to actually want to fight for, and the women's title is it. It's what it is. And honestly, it shows that you're the best in your division, and it shows that you're on top of your game. Instead of just being, the ridiculous butterfly belt that anybody can possibly wear. I'm telling you, there have been some flukes up in there for that women's title. For the Divas title. But that's just my opinion of it. But as for the women's title, it has a lot more honor and a lot more prestige behind it. Seriously, it does. And I do have an honorable mention, so I'm gonna go ahead and have that, even though I already stated my number 1. And this is an honorable mention, even though I should have said this from the get-go before I went to number 1. My honorable mention is the Divas tag titles. They need to have some. Mainly because the women only have one belt to fight for every single year. And we all know that Nikki Bella is going to probably hold that title until WrestleMania just to beat AJ Lee's record. So these women have nothing else to fight for until then, which is jacked up. They literally have to wait till next year to actually get a shot at the belts, which is messed up. When it comes to the men, they have so many options. They have the WWE World Heavyweight title, they have the IC belt, they have the US belt, and they have the tag titles. They have a huge option base. They have a huge title base. So many options that are thrown their way. The women need at least 2. Let's be honest. We're never going to see another Chyna again. Not anybody like her. That was a rare occasion when you actually see a woman taking the IC belt. That's not going to ever happen again. I don't care if Beth Phoenix comes back. She couldn't even do that on her best day. But despite all that, having tag titles will actually give women a chance to go after something else besides the Divas Championship. It'll give them a chance to actually have something else to fight for. Not to mention that it'll build an entire new division within the Divas division, and it'll make it interesting. If you have 2 great characters that you honestly like, then you'll be able to see them in a tag match for the tag titles. Not only that, they can actually get imports. There's some great Japanese women's tag teams. There's also some really great luchadoras that are great tag teams. They can go all over the world for great tag teams. It can bring in a whole new division and a whole new realm of interest towards those people who actually, all those naysayers about the Divas division. It can bring in a whole new interest, a whole new fan base. And I think it'll benefit them as well as benefiting the women. But guys, those are my ideas. That's my top 3, including the honorable mention. I want to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comment section below, or send a video response and let me know how you feel about this subject. It's Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out, guys. Later.